Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Hub World Podcast. In this episode, we'll be discussing predictions for the February 8th, 2023 Nintendo Direct. My name is Matteo, and today our party members are
Gino,
Gules.
Whether you're joining our adventure from YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, be sure to like and subscribe. Now, let's get our adventure rolling. Now, before we actually start predicting things, I think it'd be in our best interest if we just go over a few things that have actually leaked beforehand that we're pretty sure will actually be in the Nintendo Direct. First of all, we had a box art leak. What's the name? It's Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
Yep.
Nothing interesting on the front of the box, but on the back of the box, it showed in the bottom corner that there is a Megalore epilogue.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty hype, actually.
Mm-hmm. And also, Sand Kirby is a new ability that actually may have been shown on Twitter, but I didn't know about it. And I'm like, oh, wow,
Yeah,
Sand Kirby. But the Megalore epilogue is pretty cool.
Yeah, Megalore epilogue sounds really cool, especially because, it makes sense, actually, because they built a whole move style for Megalore in Kirby Star Allies.
Mm-hmm.
So having some kind of epilogue is really cool, and all of that's going to be playable with up to 4 people. And I wasn't going to buy the game, and I mean, I might not still. I'm trying to convince my partner to just buy it, but either way, I will, in some capacity, own the game because I really want to play that epilogue. I'm actually hoping you'll buy it, Matteo, so that we can redo our playthrough of that game that we did with us 3 and Riley and play the new version of it.
That was low-key like one of the best gaming memories I think we've had as a group. That was fun just playing that game. Hey, but if you don't want to buy it, and you're a little, or at least if you're a little hesitant to buy it, you could use a voucher on it. You can save some money.
True.
But then the last 2 bits of news are related to Advance Wars and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Advance Wars, first of all, is up for pre-order actually at a lot of different retailers in North America, and I think a few in Europe. The game's done, but it got delayed out of its release date last year because of the war in the Ukraine. So Nintendo, as a way to sort of seem respectful, delayed the game, and we haven't heard anything about it since. And now it's seemingly going to be released very, very soon. We don't know the exact date, but the fact that it's up for pre-order suggests that it's going to be soon. I feel like that game could be out as soon as like April, to be honest with you. Like I expect Nintendo to announce it and then release it very shortly after, because I think they even made physical copies of the game. Like they've been manufactured already.
Yeah,
they're just sitting.
They're definitely
right?
manufactured.
And like I honestly don't remember a time previously where something like this has happened before. Like this is like really bizarre.
Been delayed for a whole year almost.
Well, last December originally, and then it got pushed.
But this was one of the games I was most looking forward to last year. Like, because I'm a big fan of Fire Emblem and I've never played Advance Wars and I've always wanted to, but for whatever reason I hadn't. And this is the perfect way to play these games, at least the first 2 games. It's a good entry point into the series. And Way Forward was making it. The art style looked fantastic. And now, depending on when it comes out, it's going to be like an instant buy for me. Like, I really want to play these games, especially after Fire Emblem Engage. I really like Fire Emblem Engage.
See, here's the thing. I'm very happy as a supporter of Way Forward, and I was really excited about this game. I remember when it was first announced, I wasn't sure if I wanted it, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I will get it, I'll play it. And I was really excited for it to come out, and I was bummed when it was delayed. And I'm excited for it to come out. However, there's one word you used that I really hope is just not true, and that is the word soon. I don't want another game in the March to May. If it comes anywhere near Tears of the Kingdom, that game will not be played by me. So I'm kind of just hoping that Nintendo makes it a nice soft summer release. A nice, July, where there's not really much for me to play. When I'm not worried about Octopath 2 or Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster or Jedi Survivor and Zelda and Final Fantasy 16. Just put it at a time when there's not really many games.
But in July, you have to play all the games you missed because of Zelda. That's the other thing. But yeah, speaking of Zelda and Advance Wars, Nintendo of Canada actually, they updated, I think it was the code of the eShop. I don't know the exact terminology to use because I'm not a tech guy, but when things like that happen, people have said that essentially something is about to happen. Obviously, Zelda's going to be there, but that's another thing pointing to the signs that Advance Wars is going to be talked about to some capacity. Like they'll probably have the pre-order page for Advance Wars right after the direct. So same thing with Zelda. But as of now, that's basically it of all the things that we have a very good idea about going into the direct. So Kirby and Advance Wars, and then obviously Zelda. As for actual predictions, would someone want to start? Like, what do you think is something that we don't know about going into the direct?
Something I can bet on, something I know we'll get, is we will absolutely get the next round of Mario Kart DLC news. Like, I'm sure we're going to get that. I'm be very, very surprised if we don't get the next batch of courses. And I don't know what those courses will be, mind you, but I'm very confident we will have those courses.
I just think like DLC in general will probably be something that will be talked about a lot. Like, what are the next characters for Fire Emblem Engage's season pass?
Yep.
Maybe some Mario and Rabbids DLC being shown off. Right? We know Rayman's going to be added. When's the Rayman adventure coming? Maybe a Splatoon 3 expansion or like the Octo expansion equivalent, like something like that. There will be paid DLC for Splatoon 3. They've already announced that,
That's a
right?
big one. Yeah, that's like actually a good one.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo talks about DLC in like chunks. Like they announced multiple DLC packs for games within a short span of time.
What were you going to say, Gino?
I was gonna say maybe we'll see something Pokemon related, but then I forgot that Pokemon has their own thing normally.
Yeah, and I think we will definitely get that. Like, I actually believe we'll probably get a Pokemon Presents next month. We usually
Yeah.
get one around this time of year. So I do think that's a good prediction.
Mhm.
However, yeah, like it
Yeah.
most likely will not happen here. Most likely will happen in its own thing.
Yeah, with Nintendo, honestly, recently it's been kind of difficult to predict what they're gonna do because they always come up with something and surprise us, right?
Yeah,
Like look what happened like just a few directs ago. We just got, oh yeah, here's Mario Strikers. And
Yeah.
then the hype builds up for that, and then oh, it turns out being what it was, right? But still, like they
Yes,
always have something up their sleeves.
speaking to that, actually,
We're
like
gonna
one
get
of the
another
first.
sports game, new
Well,
tennis.
like another sports game was something I also considered that maybe we get, baseball or something completely new. But in general, just Mario. I would be really surprised if there's not something Mario this spring or even this year that's meant to tie in with the movie. Like
Yeah,
I just can't see how Nintendo could possibly not release some kind of Mario game, even if it's as simple as like whatever the successor to New Super Mario's is going to be. We've been waiting for a new 2D Mario game for when did New Super Mario Bros. Come out? 2007 or something.
That was early DS, right? Like 2005, 2006.
Like either it being like a tie-in movie game, like the Super Mario Bros. Movie game, and then it's just like a 2D platformer in the style of the movie, or a 3D platformer in the style of the movie, or just a Mario game because they're gonna have massive exposure from the movie, like and with the parks opening up. Like I just can't see there not being something Mario this year that's painted as like a major release.
Like if the game were to come out, I don't think it would coincide with the release of the movie. It maybe would be able to coincide with the release of the movie on like home video a few months after, like maybe in like the late summer. It definitely seems like a missed opportunity. I feel like Nintendo is releasing everything, all these tie-in products, and they have the Super Nintendo World, whatever, to bring the brand to the forefront. But the bread and butter is not being represented. There's no game.
yeah.
It's just weird to me. Like it would be strange to me from a marketing perspective. Like why not have a release of a Mario game to sell? Like just because like generally what will happen is the same thing we're seeing with The Last of Us, right? And the success of the film, like or sorry, the series. The film will inevitably do well because Nintendo handles their IP really well, and they trusted a pretty strong animation studio to handle it in collaboration. The movie looks fantastic from all the trailers. It's probably going to do very well. And having a game that's just available It doesn't even need to tie in. It doesn't need to be a Super Mario. Like, just having a new game that people could be like, hey, I just saw that movie. I really want to go pick up a Mario game. And then having something shiny and new that's
Yeah.
accessible is just like, it's smart. Like, in the same
Yep.
way that Sony clearly strategically released the remake of Last of Us Part 1 in September, and it didn't do very well, but it was obvious. And like, the PC version just came out a couple months ago, but it was clearly a plant for when the show inevitably did well. Now the sales have jumped like 400%, and it's just because now people are like, oh, now I want to go play it. Oh, hey, there it is, easy and accessible because it's there and it's on the shelves and it's available on my modern platforms. So I just feel like sure, they have Mario games, sure they have Mario Odyssey, and I'm sure the Mario Odyssey sales will jump, and I'm sure New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe will jump in sales, and I'm sure like all the games that have Mario in its title will jump. But having something that is like new that, you know, GameStop and Best Buy and stuff can push, like, I think is a smart idea.
I don't even think this is a hot take. I think it would threaten Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at the very least as the best-selling game on the Switch. Everyone would buy that game.
Yep.
Nintendo being like the smart financial company that they are, like they're very conservative. Like, I don't even think this is a risk. Like, this is it's a no-brainer.
It'll print money.
Yeah, it prints money, exactly. Yeah, I honestly think there is a good chance of a Mario game coming out this year, like a holiday game. But I feel like Nintendo might surprise us with like how we've been surprised, like you said, Gino, with Mario Strikers last Direct, and like we had the Advance Wars announcement like 2 years ago, or whatever it was, like an old series coming back, and there is some reason to believe that it could happen. For instance, Batten Kaitos was a GameCube game, and it actually had another game, Batten Kaitos Origins, and it was made by Monolith Soft, if I recall correctly. And so it's like a Namco-made game, but I don't know what the rights issue, like what the rights are with it, because it's never been re-released, and they were GameCube exclusives. And there's rumors that that franchise might come back in like a remake on Switch. So maybe that could happen. But also, I really think that this Bandai Namco remaster or remake of a 3D action game from Nintendo, I think it really is Kid Icarus, and like it could
Yeah.
be Kid Icarus Uprising. We've known about this for over a year at this point. It's actually not even a rumor. It's on their website. There was a listing for a game, and that was the description. But like, I feel like Kid Icarus Uprising would be great, and even Sakurai kind of like did
He's
like
been
a wink,
hinting at
wink,
something.
nudge, nudge on his YouTube channel, but like, but who would bring Kid Icarus back, or like something like that was what he said during his Kid Icarus Uprising episode. That would be so fantastic. That game is so
That'd be really
amazing. Like,
fun.
and it's actually really expensive now. Like physically, you're looking at $100 to get that game. Like 3DS games are going up, and that's like one of the big ones.
And I think the other thing to consider when thinking about all this too is I think what we're going to get over this year and next year is we are going to get a lot of smaller things that are similar to like Kirby Deluxe. And I think the big things we'll get, you know, this year and next year is we're going to get stuff like that, like the Kid Icarus remake. We're going to get, I think next year, we're finally getting Twilight Princess Wind Waker HD. And like, I remember the team that did Link's Awakening, weren't they also working on something?
I would love for them to be doing the Oracles.
I could have sworn, yeah, I hope they are too. Remember there was like speculation, because I remember around the time, like right before Skyward Sword HD was dropped, there was like info that Grezzo was working on like a game that featured like medieval something, and then people were speculating it was Skyward Sword, but then Skyward Sword HD got announced like a few months later.
Yeah.
So Grezzo's still working on something. But I think we're gonna get a lot of that stuff, because there is there's a lot of very credible rumors going out right now that, you know, Nintendo has switched gears now to the Switch successor, and the Switch successor is coming at the end of next year, like end of 2024, beginning of 2025, which is in line with what they said back in 2021 when they said, you know, Switch is halfway through its life cycle, because that, if that's the exact amount, it
Yeah.
would be early 2025. So end of 2024 is kind of like within that thing. So I think what's going to happen now is we are going to get a lot of smaller stuff, because obviously they want to see Switch through to the end. But I would be willing to bet that Zelda is going to be one of the last massive games on Switch, because I think they're going to be saving a lot of their heavy hitters to launch the Switch successor, because I bet you they pinpointed the Switch's success to the fact that they had heavy hitters at launch.
Oh yeah, but not just that launch. It's that entire year there was a big game every month. Like you had Breath of the Wild, you had ARMS, you had Mario and Rabbids, Mario Odyssey, Fire Emblem Warriors. Like they had a big Nintendo exclusive every month essentially. Xenoblade 2, like that was honestly like one of the most incredible launch years. You had the biggest Zelda game ever and arguably the biggest Mario game ever in the same year. Speaking of Zelda, though, like obviously we know Tears of the Kingdom's going to be there, and like this is going to be the big blowout of that game. We know the release date already. We can't predict obviously what gameplay wise they're going to show, but like, and we know there's going to be a special edition OLED because that actually leaked as well. But like, do you think there's going to be collector's editions, amiibo, like stuff like that?
Oh God,
like,
please, that's not.
I can already imagine the money coming out of my wallet at that point, but like. I honestly hope they don't do a master edition, or at least if they do one,
I don't
make
want
it
one.
readily available.
I have no room.
I just don't want one. I just don't want to deal with having to buy an OLED Switch and a master edition. So I'm kind of hoping that they don't, and I kind of feel like they won't. To be honest, I'm kind of feeling like the system will be that.
Nintendo won't milk us for money too much.
I mean, they might, but I personally think we're not getting much for Zelda. I think they'll announce the system. I think they'll announce any special editions. I think we'll get a very, very small trailer that shows a little bit more about the story, a little bit more about the mechanics. But I really, really, really believe that the marketing strategy for Tears of the Kingdom is Breath of the Wild was an amazing game. You want to play this game, and we're not going to show you very much. And I really think that's it. Like, I really, really think that they are confident that they don't really need to show much, because Breath of the Wild's success will completely carry the sales of this game. And I do really feel like from the beginning, they've been very secretive. And I think we will get a launch trailer that is a little bit more story heavy, the way that we did for Breath of the Wild. And I think we'll get that in like March, April. But I don't think this is the blowout. I think this is the purchasing like blowout, like what will be available for you to buy. But I don't think it's going to tell us much about the game, if I'm being honest. I do think the focus will be other things.
Yes, I agree.
Like they might show some amiibo. Like I could see them showing like a new Link amiibo and his like Breath of the Wild look, and maybe a Zelda.
Oh, here's a prediction. Speaking of amiibo, we'll get a Sora amiibo.
I wish.
They haven't really announced the Smash Bros. Amiibos in directs in a really long time. They're just like tweets. I think like recently we got the Pyra/Mythra one in a tweet. There was actually a quick turnaround between Sephiroth and Kazuya. Like I think those were announced in like November and they came out in January. At least with Sora, like we're not even thinking Sora yet, like because we don't actually have a concrete date yet for Pyra/Mythra. But I'm fully prepared to like pay someone to 3D print me a Sora amiibo because I want to keep hope
Good
alive
thing
that
you
there
have
will
a
be one.
good old friend.
Yeah,
that
I
has
have two
access
friends.
to a 3D printer.
One of you can print me the base, and one can print me the figure.
Yeah, sounds good.
But what about Metroid Prime 4?
That is a name I didn't even think about, to be honest.
It's been
been a
4 years.
while since they've restarted development.
It is coming, and especially if the reality of like a Switch successor is coming next year, like it's happening
You
this
still
year.
think it's another year away? Like
it could be. It's very possible. It really depends, but.
What if they do something like that with what they did with Breath of the Wild, where it launches on both?
Like I don't think anything will launch on both, because the rumor of the like Switch successors, it's like the Wii to Wii U in the sense that it's like,
is it just going to be a hardware upgrade?
Well, yeah, I would compare it probably like PS4 to PS5 or Xbox One to Xbox Series X. Like ultimately, while it's going to be a new system, it's going to be backwards compatible with Switch, and so games such as like Metroid Prime 4, like it doesn't need to launch like necessarily on both, but I guess it will, because the new one's going to be 4K, so it probably will launch on both. But I think like I think it will be similar to like we've just experienced with Xbox One to Xbox Series X and PS4 to PS5. I think even though the new system will be out, we'll experience a year or so of games that launch on both, because the big jump isn't going to be the hardware in a hyper technical capacity, because that's not where we're at with gaming anymore. Like, the games will likely be able to still run on the original Switch, they just won't be optimized, and then eventually games will be, they'll be like,
Exclusive to
hey,
the other platform.
yeah, the other one. Yeah, that's what I think is likely going to happen. But in terms of Metroid Prime 4, like, I think it's possible we get it this year. I don't think they'll talk about it now. I think that if it's coming this year, it's our big fall game, and they'll talk about it after Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I don't think that's a game they want to show off before Tears of the Kingdom is out. Because I think that is their next major game, and potentially that is actually their final major game after Zelda on Switch. So I feel like that's a summer announcement. However, we will definitely see Pikmin 4, I want to say, because that's supposed to come out this year.
Pikmin 4.
That's another one, yeah. Here we were thinking that, like, oh yeah, what's there to predict? We've seen everything. Nope, there's all this other stuff that they've announced.
Yeah. We might see some of those Pikmin that we once dreamt up as young children.
Mushroom Pikmin. That'll be the new thing. The Pikmin have been infected and they become fungal spores.
The Last of Us Pikmin. I really actually want to see more of the Disney Illusion Island, the Mickey Mouse and Friends game that got announced at like that random Disney showcase at D23 last year, made by Delilah, who was the studio that made the Battletoads reboot for Rare. And
oh yeah,
that game looked really good. And like I said, like, Disney has been squandering Mickey Mouse's potential for video games for way too long, and then they came out with a Mickey game. And so far, I'm pretty sure it's exclusive to Switch. So like
yeah,
and that is something that I'm really looking forward to. It looked fantastic. The art style was great, and it's a multiplayer platformer, I believe. So that's something that is going to be definitely on my radar that I'm going to get as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, I can definitely see that one also being shown.
I remember they showed off a bunch of NSO games as well, like what's coming out. I think early this year we're expecting Pokemon Stadium
and Pokemon Stadium 2.
Like, those will be like the imminent games. But like I really hope that Nintendo and Rare keep up, and I guess Microsoft keep up this seemingly good relationship they have going here, and put out essentially the entire N64 catalog from Rare. Like, if they put in the work to get GoldenEye, which is a right nightmare, they can put out like Killer Instinct, Blast Corps, Diddy Kong Racing.
I think they will. I think it's
Perfect
only
Dark.
a matter of time.
Maybe not Conquer, but like that would be something if they could put Conquer's Bad Fur Day. I really want a Banjo-Tooie. Like, I want all these games on there. That'd be great.
I feel like Banjo-Tooie is one of those eventual games.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of if, it's really just a matter of when.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one, Gino. And I think that, I think those games are definitely coming. I think that's a good bet that we're going to see some NSO stuff. But yeah, like, other than that, like, I'm trying to think what else we could see. And I mean, like, some of the things that pop into my head, like, especially if we're coming to the end of the Switch, what can we see that we haven't seen? Well, one of the big ones is, and it's been rumored for a while, is Donkey Kong. And we've said this for a long time that maybe we're going to see Donkey Kong, and maybe that will be saved for the successor. Maybe it won't, but I would love to see a new Donkey Kong game to some capacity. I'd love to see a Wario like land or a Wario adventure game. Like, there's lots of things that I feel like they could do that they haven't done yet.
Wario Land would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of sick of WarioWare at this point. Like, I got the WarioWare on Switch. I played it twice. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. We had a fun time playing it, but you know, I booted up Wario Land Shake It recently because
fun game.
My disc was scratched. I'm like, oh, does it work? I cleaned it. It worked, and I played through the first few levels. I'm like, and that was Goodfield's first game they made on Nintendo. And like, since then, they've done Yoshi's Woolly World, Crafted World, Kirby's Epic Yarn. Like, honestly, I want a good feel platformer, but also like Wario Land needs to come back. That is one of my favorite Nintendo platformers. I honestly would rather have a Wario Land game than a new Mario game at this point. Like 2D Mario. F-Zero is another franchise I've
Yep.
There's been rumblings, but like I don't know, like you don't know, like people say stuff online all the time, and
Everyone's
like
cousin's uncle is always.
yeah, but like F-Zero seemingly is like the franchise that Nintendo won't bring back because like if they're gonna bring it back, they want to innovate. But who cares about if they need to innovate? Like the person, like Sega made F-Zero GX, and I think it was the Yakuza producer was the director of F-Zero GX, and he doesn't work at Sega anymore. And he was saying like, I would love to bring this game back. F-Zero GX has aged so well, and if they want to test the waters, don't create a new game. Just put a remake or a remaster of F-Zero GX out there.
Zero GX was great. It was fast, it felt good, and it was difficult.
I think it's hard to sell on today's market. I think games like that don't sell as well.
But with the Switch install base being so high, like I'm sure there is a way for that game to sell 500,000 to a million copies. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It won't be a smash hit. It won't be in like the top 20 games or 25 games, but I think it could be respectable. Like it could easily be the best selling game in its series.
Easily.
Because like it seems like with Switch, every game that comes out, at least first party wise, is the best selling game in its series. Like Dread was the best selling Metroid game. Pikmin 3 Deluxe was the best selling Pikmin game, and you have Mario Kart 8. Like every first party effort is its best selling in a series. Like I'm sure Advance Wars will be the best selling Advance Wars game.
Yeah, most likely. Well, I mean, I don't think this is going to happen. This is less of a prediction, more of a wish. But can I share with you my wish?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I actually was about to suggest maybe we should do kind of like a wish segment here for this because I would love to hear what you guys like would want.
Again, like kind of talking about like this might be the end of Switch. One thing I really, really want to see. I know that Alpha Dream doesn't exist anymore, but I really would love to see Mario and Luigi on Switch. Mario and Luigi was so important to the handheld realm of Mario.
Mhm.
And I think it would be so cool to have it on like console with like an art style that's similar to say Wario Land Shake It, where it's like a moving like animation. And I think it would just fit so well. Whether it be a remake of like one of the older games like they've been doing, or whether it be something brand new. And I genuinely don't think they need Alpha Dream to be able to make that game. Like, I think they can have another studio make it. Like, I really do. And that segues me into my other hope that will never happen. So, do you remember, like, the Mario and Luigi remakes?
I recently shared that I had purchased Bowser's Inside Story in my latest Game Haul video.
Yeah, so like one of the cool things about those games is that when they remade them, they kind of had side stories that focused on like side characters that existed within those games and kind of like told a story that was untold. My dream game for Switch is that they do that with Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and it's Paper Mario Thousand Year Door featuring Luigi's quest to the Waffle Kingdom.
Oh my god, yes.
That's all I want. And I think it would be so funny because all they would have to do is like literally keep the game the exact same, just use the like assets and like the art styles from Origami King to bring it more into like the modern kind of realm of Paper Mario with the modern kind of graphics, and it would look so good and then have that classic feel. And then every time you see Luigi between your chapters, you go talk to him and he starts his story, and then it would just like prompt you and it would just say, would you like to play this Luigi chapter? And you say yes. And it wouldn't be like anything even close to as substantial as like a regular Mario chapter. It would just probably be like a little mission with like a boss battle and a bit of combat. And it could be more gimmicky, whatever. Like that's fine. I really don't care. But I think it would be a cool, fun way to bring Thousand Year Door, which is the peak of Paper Mario, back. With a very fun kind of like added thing that they've been like that's what they like to do with these remasters and remakes. Is lately Nintendo doesn't just drop a remake or a remaster that doesn't have some kind of extra content, like we're talking about with Kirby, right? Like there's like a little epilogue, and like what better silly thing to add than this stupid like joke side mission that Luigi supposedly went on during the events of this game.
It honestly would be amazing.
Or better yet, you play the events of the game and it's completely not the way that Luigi says it is, but he tells it a specific way.
Yes, exactly.
And Luigi can travel to Rogueport and see Mario and his companion standing on the side. It's like the mirror image of that in the game. Honestly, mine's short and sweet, and it's been said already in the podcast. Like, but my dream game, it's not like the shocker, but like I want Kid Icarus Uprising brought back. It doesn't even need to be they don't need to add content to it. It doesn't need to be visually upgraded. I just want that game to play on Switch because it just playing on Switch would make it better because of the way that game controls. You natively have 2 analog sticks on the Switch. You didn't have that on the 3DS. Getting rid of the touch controls would make that game play like a dream. And then I want Diddy Kong Racing on NSO, and I want the Wind Waker and Twilight HD coming to Switch. It's all ports. I don't care about new stuff. Nintendo doesn't need to make me a new game in a series anymore. Just put old games on Switch.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted to talk about F-Zero, but we kind of already brought it up here. But I think F-Zero GX giving that game a chance to succeed with a new audience would be really great. Another Splatoon expansion, kind of similar to the Octo expansion, and then just like here's a real like pie in the sky kind of wish. And you know what? Here's one for you, Matteo, because I never actually played the original, and I've always wanted to. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Bringing Billy Hatcher back would actually be really cool because a guy that worked on Billy Hatcher, I don't know if it was the producer or what, he actually said it'd be cool to bring Billy Hatcher back, especially since it was only released on GameCube. It's never been ported to anything. That'd be really cool. And it's a pricey game on GameCube to boot.
And Mr. Team Sonic there is also would not be associated with the project either.
Oh, Yuji Naka? Yeah.
Yuji
Naka got arrested like 3 times, and he's probably he'd probably be in jail by the end of the year.
Yeah, he gone.
Yep, insider trading, Yuji Naka. One last thing. Be sure to catch our Nintendo Direct breakdown shortly after the Direct comes out. But anyways, Gino, would you like to sign us out for this Nintendo Direct Predictions podcast?
That brings us to the end of today's quest. If you liked what you heard today, hit that like, subscribe, or follow button below. If you want to contribute to the conversation, let us know any ideas for upcoming quests, or just leave your shots and leave us a comment. We'll see you next time at the Hub. Matteo?
Microsoft, make a new Banjo game, and also Nintendo and Disney, make a Sora amiibo. See everybody.
Yeah.